In today's show, we're going to talk about the COE Kit and what it is. So, Manuela, what is it?
As you look at scaling your Power Platform adoption across the enterprise, you'll have a lot of tasks kind of ahead of you in terms of like administering it, governing it, and also like nurturing your makers. The COE Kit is a tooling approach to help you automate some of those tasks so you can focus on what's really important and let the tools do some of the day-to-day business as well.
Today's show, we're going to dive into that, right? Manuela is the owner of the COE Kit, or she'll probably have something better to explain for herself, but we're going to dive into all those facets, why you should care about this tools, how to get started, the crawl, walk, run approach, everything you ever want to know about COE Kit. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today, it's all about the Center of Excellence Toolkit for Power Platform. That's right, I used its fancy name because it's a fancy show. But to help me talk about it today, instead of me making up a bunch of stuff, because I am far from an expert on COE, I have got my old friend Manuela here to do it. Manuela, thank you for joining us. Can you give us a quick intro about who you are?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on the show. I think like many Power Platform people, I kind of learned about Power Apps from you. So to be on the show is like a real honor. So I'm Manuela. I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft on the Power Apps custom advisory team. So we work with some of our largest customers, helping them adopt Power Platform, typically kind of looking at like an enterprise scale low code strategy there. As part of that work, we have a lot of learnings. Some of those we transform into like a tooling approach or guidance for other customers that we maybe don't directly work with to learn from as well. And that's kind of how the COE Starter Kit was born quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, it's I realize that too when I think about this. Like it used to be new, and now this thing's just old staple there.
Yeah, I
So,
think we launched it in 2018 or something like that. So
oh
yeah,
my
crazy
goodness,
times.
yeah. So, but before we dive into the COE kit more, like, how did you get here, right? Because I mean, I know that like you didn't sit out, in university many years ago and say, "Hey, one day I want to own the COE kit." Like, what got you to the Power Platform?
Yeah, so I've actually, it's quite well, maybe an interesting path. So I used to be a code first developer, .NET developer at Virgin Atlantic. So I was a customer of Microsoft products myself. And then at Virgin, we kind of started a rollout of Office 365 products. And my team kind of was a little bit responsible for the technical part of that, and stumbled over like Power Apps and Power Automate as part of that rollout. Kind of looked at it a bit, obviously looked at it from kind of a code first angle, and initially was a bit like, I'm not really sure I kind of get it. But then I think like many organizations, we got overwhelmed with asks to digitize processes. Every company or like I guess back then in like 2018 was kind of on the digital transformation journey, and like all these paper forms, Excel spreadsheets, access things kind of flying around. And kind of the team that I was managing got like really inundated with requests to can you automate this? Can you digitize this? Minute this available on a mobile device for all of those frontline workers. So that kind of prompted like relooking at Power Apps and Power Automate. And I think kind of the penny dropped of like, maybe we don't have to do all of that. Like maybe we can put it in the hands of the people asking us those questions to do it themselves, and like focus on maybe making like microservices, custom connectors available, or like the database structure, but let them kind of handle the things that they care about most, and let them design the applications in a way that they want to use them. So yeah, then kind of looked after the Power Platform adoption at that company, and then joined Microsoft about 3.5 years ago now, to like work with customers on Power Platform adoption, really focusing a little bit on like administration and governance as well. And then yeah, kind of through that journey, started we launched the COE kit, and then it grew so much in popularity that it's now my kind of full-time job to like manage the COE kit and everything that kind of goes with it.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? It's funny, like you think about 2018 is, you were starting the digital transformation with your company, and there's still a lot of companies that haven't done it, right?
Hmm.
We're still all over the place, and I think there's a lot of companies that are, very much still in the crawl phase of, yeah, we know we want to get rid of this paper, but I love my paper. So it is definitely very
Think about the
interesting.
trees.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, right? The Power Platform feeds this so well for people, and it's just an enabler to do so much more. So, but that's a whole different show topic. So we'll stay away from that. But all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, oh, we can have a different chat.
Yeah.
All right. So the COE toolkit, right? Like, I'll be honest with my viewers and you as well, right? Like, I am not an expert on it. We've got a bunch of experts on it here at Power Apps 911. They do it. They've automated, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm just a pretty face. But so with the COE toolkit, like, is it just something like I just install and magically Power Platform is under control and I don't have to ever think about it again? Like, what is the COE toolkit really?
Yeah, unfortunately not. Sorry to kind of let your viewers down here. Yeah, I guess like taking a step back, I think as many of our customers look at Power Platform adoption at an enterprise scale, they come up with a strategy of how they want Power Platform used in their organization, like who's using it, what for, different kind of like what connectors are going to be available, what environments are going to be available. Are we going to host like internal hackathons, training events, etc.? And as part of that strategy, you typically kind of have a couple of like things that you will do like either repetitively or just request forms that your makers will want to fill out, and they fall kind of in like you administer the platform, you govern it, and then you nurture the makers. And I think what we learned from kind of customers that we worked with is that started off as like manual work, like I would email a maker, or I would kind of manually create like environments, manually create kind of like several policies, etc. And then I think the COE kit is really the tooling approach that's like the layer on top of your strategy. So just like Power Platform makes life easier for your business departments in terms of automating those paper forms and manual processes, we've built the COE kit with the Power Platform so that managing the Power Platform is made easier as well with kind of the same tool set as well.
Now you said enterprise, like, so is the COE toolkit only for the biggest, baddest, greatest, largest companies in the world, or can the little guys use it too?
Everyone can use it. Everyone can use it. I mean, it probably doesn't make sense if it's just you and your friend in a company, because you like talk to each other and you don't have maybe that need for like enterprise, like for that kind of reporting on who's using, or like how is my adoption growing, or who are my top makers, who are the people that are using kind of the Dataverse connector, things like that. But like, yeah, we have many small businesses that are using it as well to like especially kind of report on their adoption trends and see if they're going in the right direction, or work on kind of some, yeah, like keeping their tenant kind of in a really good state. So yeah.
Yeah, right. And I definitely think it's like the inventory is one of the first tools that probably a lot of people like, right? Because you
Hmm.
run the inventory, it says, hey, here's all the apps, here's the owners, here's the connectors it's all using. And so whether you're a large company or a small company, sometimes it's just nice to know exactly how big this thing has gotten in your world.
Yeah, exactly. And you can get like the tenant level analytics in the Power Platform Admin Center to kind of get a feel of the inventory. I think where the COE kit kind of stands out is that it's something that you install in your tenant. So it has like insights about um, your like more insights about your makers, like the department they're in, the city and country they're from, their job title. So a lot of our customers just really use it for kind of that level of insights, like, oh, it's my sales department that is using Power Apps most. Maybe I can talk to them and learn about like like what value they're getting from it, why they're using it, what they found easy, and how can I like I guess I as a central department support them more. Is there like any like training that they would like to have? Is there like a success story there that I can share with other departments to inspire them to use Power Apps more? So it's really kind of that level of insights into not just the inventory, but also your organization's adoption that many customers kind of start off with learning a lot from.
Do you have a demo? Could you show us kind of that
Yes.
insights
Yeah.
dashboard?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So kind of as you install the COE kit, one of the first things that customers spend a lot of time in is usually the dashboard that comes with the COE kit. So it has quite a lot of pages, and that's really to give you the ability to drill down into your usage using kind of different like different angles, I guess. So usually kind of what customers start with is looking at the Power Apps overview, where you can kind of see how many app makers you have, how many total applications you have, which ones are Canvas apps, which ones are model-driven apps, and who are your top app makers. So in kind of my demo tenant, that's a service account, and then someone called Lee has created like almost 300 applications. That's kind of an indicator for someone that's like a top maker. They're clearly getting a lot of value from it, so maybe that's like worth reaching out to them and talking to them about what they're doing. And the same kind of overviews are available for other parts of the Power Platform as well. And then you kind of drill a little bit further down into maybe some of the specific application statistics. So here's kind of that overview that I mentioned earlier with like my top active departments. And in kind of, again, in my demo tenant, it's like the marketing department that's created the most applications. So they're clearly getting a lot of value from it. I can see the app creation trend. So I can kind of monitor the growth and the continued adoption of Power Apps. Many customers kind of host internal like hackathons and training events, and then they use this view to see if a hackathon event has created a lasting upwards trend. So, for example, I host a hackathon in December. Do I see that from January onwards, more apps are getting like created because people have like more interest in Power Apps now? So those are some of the overviews that are available. And I guess then usually, you have like your Power Platform Center of Excellence team or your administration team, and they will get a lot of questions from other departments about Power Platform adoption. So they might have like a training team or a user enablement team that asks like, oh, can you tell me, like, give me like the top makers, maybe I can encourage them to be like internal champions, to have like an internal community going. So you can then like look at the makers tab and you can kind of immediately figure out who the top makers are, and you can give that to that enablement team and they can kind of work with them to like start creating an internal community. But then kind of like you might also have your procurement department might ask and say, look, we have like this premium usage. Who's actually using these premium licenses, because we do want to cross charge them. So again, I'll just click that away. So you can kind of go from the number of resources to have down to the connector tier, and then you can see you've got premium usage here. And if you go to the department, you can then kind of see, again, it's like the marketing department that's using 450 out of those 750 premium flows. So if you do want to cross-charge license costs, you kind of have the insight to cross-charge them accordingly. So those are some of the reasons kind of people spend a lot of time in the dashboard, is to answer their own questions and answer questions from everyone else in the org about Power Platform adoption.
Now, one of the crazy things that I'm realizing here watching, right, is like you're in a Power BI report. So the COE Toolkit is not just a bunch of random software, right? It's actually built on, it is Power Apps and flows and Power BI reports
Yeah.
to monitor Power Apps, Power BI, Power and flows. Is that right?
Yes, everything. It's shipped as a solution, as a Power Platform solution, and everything in it is, something that's available to you as a Power Platform maker. So we use Dataverse tables, Cloud Flows, Canvas apps, model-driven apps, custom connectors. In a couple of months, we'll introduce Power Platform data flows as well. So that's kind of another element that will be part of it. In December, we launched our very first kind of custom pages that are now in use. So I think so it's kind of definitely like a Power Platform solution, and we try to keep up to date with what's available to makers, so that if you're using it, you kind of also learn a little bit more about what your makers could be doing as well, or what's available to you if you're building your own stuff as well.
That is super cool. All right, so you've sold me. So, like, what do I need to do to get started with this thing? Like, all right, so I've watched this. I'm like, yes, I need this in my world. Like, I think before you told me like you wanted me to crawl, walk, run. Like, what do I do?
So kind of the first step is, if you look at our documentation, that kind of explains everything that's in the kit, and goes through some of the features that are available. So like typically kind of what we looked at is the inventory components, like you just browse your inventory, and that's kind of how you get started. Like you get familiar with what's already in your tenant. Very often kind of you might already have people that have discovered Power Apps organically and have started building stuff. So you want to get familiar with that. And then based on the learnings that you have from that adoption, you want to start kind of refining your processes a little bit further. So typically kind of customers then look at like governance processes. So they might want to identify things that are inactive, that are just clogging up the tenant, makes you as an admin like less agile to make decisions because there's a lot of resources there that are taking up capacity. They're no longer used. So we have a couple of like again, it's like flows that identify if something is inactive and they ask the maker for approval to remove that thing from the tenant. So kind of those are some of the things that you might want to look at once you're familiar with what's going on in the tenant as well. Another process that a lot of kind of admins are really worried about, and I think that stems from like Excel days and access databases on people's personal laptops, is what happens to something if the maker leaves the organization. Like that's just going to lie around. Am I going to be responsible for that? So there's a process in the COE kit that links every object to a maker and the manager of that maker. So when that maker leaves the organization, there's a flow in place that sends Teams adaptive cards, so Teams messages to the manager to tell them that, hey, someone's left your team and they've left behind a couple of resources. What do you want to do about them? So that like I, as the admin, don't have to care so much about that myself. I let the manager kind of own that stuff and like assign it to someone else on their team, for example.
And right, it's super important to understand, right, that you're going over governance components,
Yeah.
but just because I installed COE, I don't have governance, right? Like governance isn't just a checkbox. It's just not I installed something, it's governed, right? But the idea is that if you have a proper governance plan, you've thought about what you want to do, what you want to understand, then this is the tool that will help you solve the problems that you've identified you want to solve.
Yeah, exactly. So the biggest element is kind of coming up with your strategy of how you want to govern the platform, and tools can never be the answer, but they can definitely make life easier for you so that you don't have to manually find the managers. You let the tool do that for you, but kind of part of your strategy has to be that managing kind of stuff that got left behind. It kind of forms part of your strategy. But yeah, definitely just installing it won't. But it will help you, but it's not the answer.
Yes. Yeah. And governance, once again, a whole nother subject, right? But
Mm.
my short answer for that when I talk to people about Power Platform, for a lot, especially the smaller end customers, this is a great tool. You install it, you've got the inventory, you can now watch what's going on, right? Like, make that your first governance step, is just watch what's happening out there. And then try to kind of start to say, okay, let's put some guardrails in here. Let's start controlling the bad behaviors, which
Mm.
is polar opposite. So you were a developer in your former life, right? I was a
Yeah.
network system administrator. You know what I learned on the first day of my job? Say no, right? That was thing one. Somebody asks you for something, the answer is no. And so Power Platform governance should not be a game of no, you can't do it, right? It should be a game of, hey, let's see what they're doing, and then
Mm.
let's help them do better. Let's help them stay within the rules, but don't just lead with no. And I think the COE Toolkit does a spectacular job of giving me the insight that I don't have to just say no.
Yeah, I think it's kind of our goal, like enabling further adoption without and taking away some of that burden on the admin by automating some of the tasks that I guess like in the early days we've seen customers figure out kind of manually.
Just the inventory piece is just, I think, profound for a lot of companies. And I hope they kind of get that.
Yeah, I think it's always really interesting when you like talk to like sometimes I talk to admins and they're like the new Power Platform admin and they're like, yeah, we don't have any Power Platform adoption yet. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Are you sure? Have you heard about the default environment? And then it's like, oh wow, there's like stuff going on, and then they get scared, and then they're like, oh no, actually, like I can figure out exactly what's going on, so I'm not so scared anymore. Although
Yeah,
sometimes that's a bit of a journey.
and that's it. Don't be scared, right? Like
Mm,
the no. That was the reason I wanted to bring that up, right? But I was literally just taught on the first day of IT admin training, right? Like you just say no to everything, and that just doesn't work in today's world. So then the next set of components you have on your screen, I'm just going to jump ahead. I'm cheating, right? But you've got the nurture
yeah.
stuff
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. So what is the nurture part of the COE toolkit?
Yeah, actually, let me show you some maybe real demos rather than just a documentation. I think with some of the governance components, they're made up mostly of flows, so it's a little bit difficult to demo them. But the nurture components are made up of a bunch of applications that you can share with your makers and your end users to help them adopt Power Platform better or kind of get more familiar with what's available in your organization there. So let me just launch some of the applications there. So again, kind of the nurture parts of the COE kit are a bunch of components that you can use. They don't replace having a nurture strategy, but they can help you kind of fulfill that. So one of the things that we have is kind of a video hub. Sorry, we have like demo videos in here, but it's kind of a place for you to share both internal and external videos with your maker, so they can get familiar with the Power Platforms. You can have like playlists in place to like so I've got a playlist put together for the COE starter kit itself, and it shows some of the videos. You can view them from here. People can kind of leave comments on there. We see it being used like so kind of like an enablement team puts together an onboarding playlist for a new maker. They share that with them and say, look, before you kind of do anything more, watch that. Here's an internal video that we've recorded that kind of talks about how we want you to use Power Platform in our organization. And then here's some great videos from this guy called Shane Young that will teach you how to create an application and how to use kind of formulas and things like that. So that's kind of how we see that if we see that used, or like, and then have kind of like more advanced playlists as well, and that saves a maker having to, like a lot of people are really motivated and they go out there and they search for these videos themselves. Some other folks they discover this Power Apps icon in their Office waffle, and they're like, yeah, this looks good, but how do I learn more about it? And kind of like stop there. So the video hub is really like an internal point for people who are motivated, but maybe not motivated enough to kind of go out there and search for this information, to curate content for them to learn more about what this Power Platform is and what it can do for them.
Yeah. Right. And it's just amazing to me. And I hope if I get this wrong, you can correct me, right? But the way that I understand it is the COE kit or through the inventory process can be watching this, say, discovers, hey, Buddy created an app today. This is the first time Buddy's ever made an app. Let's send him a notification and say, hey, Buddy, welcome to the Power Platform Revolution. Here's all those resources that Manuela just said. Here's how Buddy can learn and grow. Here might be an internal mailing list for, if you want to ask other people questions. Here's our monthly meetups, but it gives you, the overarching owner of the platform, a chance to engage with that person who made their first video. And it's all, I don't want to say built in, but all the framework's already there. You just kind of go and fill in the buckets with the way you want it to behave when it finds that new maker for the first time.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a kind of template welcome email that gets sent out, and obviously like that, that doesn't do much for you in an organization, but it's a place for you to fill in the links to your community, the links to the videos, the Teams channel, the like you said, kind of internal meetings, internal training events, all of that. And I think in some ways there's obviously like the automation and the tooling element to it, but I think my hope is that in some ways it inspires you as an admin to say, oh, actually, that's a good idea. Like, I should be doing that. And then kind of think about like I don't know, like in the welcome email, we'll say, like, put in the link to your community in there. And if you don't have one, then hopefully that's a good prompt to say, like, oh, yeah, actually, like, I think we could do with a community internally, and like prompt you in those ways as well.
No, that's sneaky there. I like what you did there, right? You kind of gave a little what do you call it? A little trail, right? Like, hey, you should probably have this because you could just
Yeah.
fill in a nice URL here instead of deleting this section of the email. You're kind of a smart one, aren't you?
We try.
So what else do you have? What else about the COE kit do we need to tell all these wonderful people?
In the nurture components is an application to register for upcoming like internal training events. And that sends like emails to the people who register, and they kind of, like it's very simple. You kind of see everything like training events that are internal that are upcoming, and you can register for them. But I think the um, um, like uber purpose of this application is that when someone shows up to a beginner app in a day event that's hosted internally, they will at that point already have had an interaction with Power Apps because they registered for that event using Power Apps, and they received an email about their registration using Flow. So that's actually something that I did at my previous company. Like we created an app and flows, and then when people kind of came to that app in a day event, we asked them like, oh, have you ever interacted with Power Apps? And they were like, no, not that we're, you know, we're just like complete beginners. We don't know what it is. And then, you could kind of reveal that, no, the way you registered that was a Power App. And that email, I didn't send that to you. It was kind of a flow that sent it to you. So they were like, okay. And then it kind of got them thinking about a little bit more about what Power Apps could do for them. So I guess that's kind of another way where you don't like maybe want to use another system for that, like use the tools that you're trying to get your makers to use as well. So yeah, that just thought that was worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, no, there you go. You know, those little smart little breadcrumbs that make this all more palatable for people. I love it. So what does success look like? You know, so I've rolled this out. I've started to use some of it. Like, is there a day that I call this successful, or is it just an ongoing journey? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think so we have I think last year we've published a adoption maturity model for Power Platform that kind of talks through the different levels of maturity that you go through. I don't think you're ever really done with it. I think you continue to evolve. I guess for me, what success would look like is continuing to use those insights that you get from the reports to refine your strategy. Like, don't come up with a strategy in a vacuum or in a silo. Like, make sure that it is adapted to the way people are using Power Apps in your organization, and grows with them and with the adoption. Like maybe what made sense on day one doesn't make sense on day 365 anymore, because your maker kind of ecosystem and the way they are using the platform has changed completely. So I think kind of success is almost never like never stop learning and never stop kind of evolving what your strategy looks like.
Gotcha. And so, okay, so success for me, the owner of this platform is evolution and going. But is the COE kit, like, so you said you guys rolled it out like 3 years ago. So are we just still using the same version that came out 3 years ago, or what does that look like?
No, so just like our customers continue to evolve, we continue to evolve as well. So the COE kit is shipped on a monthly basis. So the first week of the month, we ship a new version. Sometimes that's just bug fixes. So the COE kit is managed kind of open source on GitHub. So if you do have like issues with it, like we're not um, free of errors, just like rarely software is, I guess.
Yeah.
You can we kind of try to fix we prioritize bug fixes on a monthly basis, but often there's like new features or like redesigning something or using something that's new in the platform. And we definitely like really listen to like where our customers are. I think building the kit with low code allows us to be really agile and turn things around really fast. So we often kind of get customer feedback of, oh, could the kit do this, or could it do that, or have you thought about this? And we try to kind of include as much as possible there as well in our monthly releases. So we're trying to keep busy.
No, that's crazy. And I think that's so important. You know, you said it's on GitHub, and just like everything in the Power Platform, this isn't a black box, right? Like I could grab it all myself. If you guys stop supporting it tomorrow, if I have it, I can go in and mess and edit and automate and do whatever I want, because it's just a Power Platform solution. At the end of the day, there's no magical hidden C# code that is uncompilable or anything in there.
Yeah. So everything, yeah, you can kind of crack open the Canvas apps and you can see exactly the code that's in there. The flows are getting a little bit complex, but yes, you can obviously like look at them and kind of learn from them as well. And I think that's also kind of an important part of the kit. Like we named it Starter Kit for a purpose. Like there's no one size fits all when it comes to Power Platform adoption, and like through working with quite a lot of customers over the past few years, we definitely see like kind of different approaches, different levels of maturity, different ways customers want to adopt Power Platform. And the kit is meant to provide kind of a reference implementation and a starting point. But because it is a solution that you install in your tenant, you are able to then extend it and customize it to make it fit your needs, and get inspired by it. But definitely, if a process in the kit doesn't quite fit what your organization has in mind, don't change your organization, change the process to make it fit kind of what you have.
Oh, one of the best features of the Power Platform. So speaking of your evolution, your cadence, one of the questions that, I told a couple people I was getting to chat with you. I didn't want to tell too many people. I didn't want to overwhelm, but one of the questions I got was, Azure Synapse, right? Like it's a whole monitoring logging platform. Like, is that in the COE kit? Is there something there or?
So not today, I guess. So the Power BI dashboard is built on top of Dataverse, and I think we have, like I said, kind of like different levels of maturity of customers. So we work with customers that they don't know who their Azure person is in their organization, let alone kind of how to request Azure Synapse or a data lake or something like that. And then, we have like some very mature customers where all of their reporting is now going through Synapse, like a data warehouse combined with like much bigger data sets about their organization. So yeah, definitely that's kind of, like you said, like one of the beauties of the platform is you can obviously, like all of that inventory we collect in a Dataverse environment, you can link that up to Synapse and then kind of create your own reporting there. But it's not something that we have in the kit today.
Gotcha. That makes total sense, right? Everyone's in a different place in their journey, and we gotta meet as many people as we can with the base platform. I like that.
Yeah, we kind of try to, like you always try to find the balance there,
Yeah,
but not make it too um, restrictive or too complex for people to kind of adopt the kit kind of as a starting point. I think like if we had like a prerequisite that you needed Azure Synapse and maybe some other Azure components, then a lot of customers would be like, oh, this is not for me anymore. Like it's
yeah,
this is further along than where I am. And I think one of the really important things for us is to be kind of inclusive of where everyone is on their journey, but like leave the door open for people to extend it when they want to and when they're ready to.
yeah. I think it's perfect. Now you said all the data goes to Dataverse. So is there a licensing component of this I need to think about?
Yes, so the kit is built as a Power Platform solution, and using Dataverse made the most sense for us because we can ship the data model in the solution, so you have the tables there. Yes, obviously that means that you need a Power Apps premium license to use the kit and any components of the kit.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we see, I think typically kind of the admin team installing it would have a Power Apps per user license because they use the applications quite frequently. And then I showed you some of the applications that are more meant for makers, like the training registration and the video hub. Those can be covered with pay-as-you-go licensing as well, because you would expect your makers to use those like less frequently. And then pay-as-you-go might be the kind of come at a cheaper cost point. But yeah.
Gotcha. So perfect. So if I'm a small company looking at this thing, and it's really just me managing, and I just want to have the insights of what's going on, theoretically, I could just buy myself a premium license, which I probably already have, and then install all this and use all the dashboards and all the components you were just showing to get that inventory going. And then if we start to, or not start, as we continue to see value, then maybe we turn on the nurture, then maybe we switch to pay as
Yes.
you go for the users. But you're not asking people to buy their 100-person org, 100 licenses to start with this thing. It's really just, it could just be one person if you were really just trying to
Yeah.
land it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, as you get started, like if all you're interested in is the Power BI dashboard, and yeah, you just need that license to collect kind of that inventory and look at the dashboard. And everything that we talked about in terms of kind of the governance and nurture components, that's all like optional. Like when you're ready to use it, and if you do want to use it, then you need to think about maybe some of the license components. I guess again with like some of the governance components, they use like approval and Teams adaptive cards that don't have like license implications. So you could use some of those without needing a license for your makers. But definitely some of the applications that we talked about, yeah, they are based on or backed by Dataverse.
Perfect, right? Once again, meeting people wherever they're at on the journey. I love the flexibility there. So, well, I think that's all the things I had set out to cover. Is there any other pieces that we missed that I was supposed to, do a good job of asking? I forgot.
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, I think the most important aspect to cover is that, you don't you don't install it and then just leave it. Like it's not a checkbox exercise. It's you come up with a strategy, then you install it, and then you use it and evolve from there. And I think we covered that, I guess. I hope.
Awesome. Well, then, yay us. I really super appreciate you having this chat with us. I think, hopefully exposing more people to how valuable the COE kit is, right? Because, whether it's your megacorp or your tiny little, 100-person shop, there's a lot of value to be had by putting this in and just starting to wrap your arms around what is going on in the Power Platform. So I really, really, really thank you for sharing this with us.
No, thank you so much for having me. This has been like really good fun to talk about.
Cool. All right. I guess with all that, I'm just going to say thanks and have a great day. Hey, me again. Before you go, click on the subscribe button, right? Join the list of 100,000 plus people that have subscribed already. Or if you need any help, right? Check us out at Power Apps 911. We do big projects, little projects. We do training. We do everything, and we can help you. Or if you want to see more videos, you probably do, then just click on the playlist above. Cool? Thanks, and have a great day.